Okay guys, hi, I am Cameron and this is Clary
Hey.
and we are here to do a new show called The Basics. With the Basics? I don't
Are we basic?
I
Does
don't
that make
know.
us basic?
I don't know, maybe.
I feel like I would classify myself as complex.
I'm basic working on complexity. I'm
Alright.
moving towards it.
Okay.
Okay, so on The Basics, we're going to talk about just a topic and get into it a bit. Something that maybe people don't know about, or something that I definitely don't know about. Today, we are doing astrology.
Yes, we are.
Okay. So our astrology expert today.
Expert. Wow, thank you. High praise. Did you guys hear that?
From the Spiritual University.
Of Clary Grace. That's
Exactly.
me. All up to the divine.
Exactly.
Alright, so what do you want to know? What do the people want to know?
Well,
What do you not know? I guess is a better question. Like, what are you confused about?
What is astrology? I feel like that's a pretty good place to start because some people may not know.
I would classify astrology as the language of the stars, if you will. I feel like it's a way to interpret your mannerisms and also kind of how you interact with the world, because it's a little snapshot of when you were born, and also just the way that the planets change daily, you know, and like monthly, weekly, like we're always moving, we're always changing, so it's cool to look at the way that it interacts with your planets, your placements. But it would be a study of human behavior, I guess, if you really break it down, like a really ancient study of a universal telling for human behavior, because I guess that's what it is. But
yeah,
people have been doing it for eons, like
eons. I love that word.
It is like a new fad and trend, I guess, as it's gaining more popularity, and like horoscopes have been in newspapers forever, but
yeah.
It's something that people have always studied. The stars have always been there, the moon has always been there, people use it as their guiding light, etc. So I think it's cool.
I mean, it always sounds cool. You've given us a great
shining light
intro. Why you called it a snapshot, right? Like
yes.
A snapshot of our birth. Why does this snapshot have such a big impact on our pattern?
Okay, so a birth chart is gonna be like a direct snapshot of exactly what the sky looked like on the exact moment, exact minute, exact second that you were born.
Okay.
When you popped into the earth, what did the planets look like? So that's gonna break down into your sun, your moon, your Venus, your Mars, your Jupiter, like basically all of the planets that are within orbit, they're going to fall into a house and a sign as well. So it kind of classifies you, if you will. And each planet stands for something different, but it really affects the way that we interact with the world, because there's so many different elements going into it. You're not just your sun sign, you know, you're gonna be a fire sun sign, but you're also gonna have a air moon and a bunch of earth placements or a bunch of water placements. But that's really gonna change the way you interact with someone. Where if you meet someone who's just a full-on Leo, like Leo sun, Leo moon, Leo Mercury, they're gonna approach things differently than, I don't know, say like a Scorpio or an Aquarius, because they're a water sign or an air sign. But your snapshot is so important because it's like your origin, you know, it's kind of like the blueprints for who you are, honestly. Like, if you want to put it that way, that's kind of a really technical way to put it. But if you start studying into each thing and what they stand for, or what placement it's in, how that house interacts with it, how those planets interact, what it's doing with the moon right now, like.
So when people refer to like, this is your Venus, that's the position that Venus was in when you were born.
Exactly.
So when they say like your Venus is like this sign, how do they tell where, or like what
Your birth time. So that's kind of like sacred information, honestly. I know a lot of really like well-known or like well-educated astrologers like will not reveal their birth chart because they don't want people to know all of that about them because they know it's sacred information. So with your birth time, the exact time, second, minute you were born, even if you use military time, it's like more exact because it's even better. Exactly where you were born, so city, zip code, town, all of that, and then just your name and whatever gender that you present as, identify as, and it gives you, basically access to the person that you are. So your Venus is in Capricorn, so you have an Earth sign Venus, so you're probably like a little bit more reserved about about not only pursuing love but even just friendships, or maybe even like romantic friendships that turn into partnerships, that kind of situation, like where you have intimacy with people, even just in conversation. You know, it doesn't always have to be what people think of it as intimacy, but like the way that you gently interact with the world is going to be a little bit more closed off and a little bit more only once you know me, or only once you've said the right kind of things, or once you've kind of proven it to me, because Capricorns are a little bit more stubborn, maybe materialistic, if you want to go that far. You guys like to have your priorities in order. So if somebody comes to you and they're a complete absolute mess, and they're also not taking the time to like get to know you and ask about your sister, and you're like, this isn't gonna work, like bye. Absolutely, this isn't gonna work.
Exactly.
Because it's not gonna work, you know? And I feel like even though that's their personal choice, like if you start to look into it, like these are signs. And I don't want to be that person who's like, I won't date a Gemini, but like in some placements, like there could be really bad sign placements.
Why is it like such a meme, right? That don't date a Gemini? Because I've heard that a lot.
Geminis do get a lot of hate, and I will say I used to participate. I'm sorry, but the more I started looking into my chart, like you can't even hate on a specific sign because you're gonna have a planet in almost every sign. Like you're gonna have a placement, and so it's like you can't talk shit about it because it's really just your internal self being like, I don't like when you act out in that way because I want to do that, or I can see myself doing that and it annoys me. Instead of them being like, I don't like that you do that thing just because it bothers me. It's usually like, I can admit that that's me too. So I think it's because they're air signs too. So air signs are a little bit more detached, but Geminis are communicators. So I feel like if you get them talking, like they will eventually reveal themselves. Because everyone says they're two-faced. They're the twins. You know, that's their little mascot, if you will. But everyone says they're two-faced. They can't be real. They're ingenuine. But I think it's really that they just have like a duality, and they comfortably switch between those. Because if somebody's got a Gemini Mercury, Gemini is going to be ruled by the planet Mercury. So that sign being in that planet is going to amplify it. Like somebody with a Gemini Mercury is going to be really, really good at conversation. They might even be really good at like public speeches. Maybe they pursue like being a politician or something like that. That's really fun too, is looking at famous people's charts and being like, how do they do that?
So like, I know we're in it right now, but like bad shit always happens.
Mercury retrograde.
So what is that?
Everybody hates it. So a retrograde period is really really hyped up because all the fad, nobody wants to fully look into it, and it can be really intense. A retrograde period, basics of it, the planet looks like it's moving backwards. So what that means for us is that it stays in that sign.
Love those Sagittarius.
We do. We really do.
We
stand a Sag. No, I really do. But it can be really scary because it brings up a lot of old stuff. Mercury rules communication. So during a retrograde, you're moving backwards, you're moving slower, but the things around you are moving faster because time never stops, you know? We get so caught up in society and our life and our responsibility and just the things that we have to do, we kind of forget to just pause. Just like be here, be in your body, be present, be on the earth, be a citizen, you know, be a neighbor, like a person, and just kind of forget like, I have to do this, I gotta wake up here, I gotta do this, I gotta be here, I do this for this person, and like just taking a moment to be like, I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna make sure this gets done. But since communication is breaking down, it's harder to do that, so it's kind of like a forced pause. Like if you don't rest, the universe is gonna come and be like, stop, you need to stop, and you're gonna like, this is drastic, but like get in a car crash or like break your leg, or like some people's cars got stolen.
You're like the new like CEO of like a company. I know we hate corporations, but let's just put you in that position.
But it's a good one, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And your like first task, right, is like, I need to get the right set of people around me.
Right.
How are you going to use your signs?
Oh my gosh, this is like my astrology like dream cast, but like fan cast for who I would work with.
Yeah.
Okay. What other positions? Like what do I need done? Just like a full company?
So let's say you're like CEO, so we'll pick like 3. So you need like...
Well, I need a Virgo first and foremost.
Okay.
Because the organization is going to be like...
Where do you want the Virgo? So let's say like the financial officer, technical officer, and like...
The Virgo's probably like top dog. They're probably like financial. Like they keep everything running.
You definitely want someone that's like... dollars going this way, 59 cents going that way. Like every single
or maybe
purchase.
Even Capricorn. Or maybe like... Virgo with like a Capricorn placement.
Is this why it's so hard? Is because
you have to try and do math too. Like I'm trying to think of what's even like physically possible because of the orbits. I think that would work. Maybe it would have to be like a farther planet, but yeah. Earth signs are usually pretty meticulous, but air signs can be pretty meticulous too. I feel like no, an Aquarius would never show up to work. I guess it's a stereotype though.
Yeah.
I love Aquarius. I can't no tea, no shade to an Aquarius. My Aquarius rising would never. But we kind of don't want to go with the system, so we're gonna be best as like creative. So they're gonna be like designing stuff. They're gonna be doing like promo and just doing stuff online, you know.
So maybe have them in charge of marketing.
Right. Yeah.
Or like design.
So like the air signs are gonna be like keeping that on, like keeping it look shiny and like nice and like keeping it flowing, and then we need like a backbone, you know. I think the Scorpios there like bossing everybody around, kind of just being like, you do this, you go here, or like. Well, I'm like, hey, you're telling them to do that. They're like, got it. You know,
you gotta
like,
delegate.
got it. Yeah.
But this person is gonna enforce.
Right. Yeah. So I guess like fan cast is like Scorpio, Aquarius, Virgo. How problematic are we? Those are like kind of hated signs, but I support them. Like I support them in their placements, because in astrology, your sun sign is that first sign that comes to you. But a lot of times until that planet comes back to your placement, like it doesn't really develop in your life, because our brains don't stop growing until we're 26. And I think at about 26, 27, that's when your first Saturn return comes back. And Saturn is like our harsh teacher. Saturn is like what you have to learn, like your big life lesson, essentially. So when you finally kind of have that like mid-20s burnout, where you're just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, who am I? It really does shape you, and it's generational, but it's generational because it's planetary, you know, it's all cyclical all the time, so.
You were talking about the mood swings, right?
Right.
And like how your emotions can be brought into it.
Okay.
How does mental illness affect astrology? Or does astrology take into account?
I think it does. I think this is a sensitive subject for a lot of people, because a lot of people want to, it's one or the other. You know, it's black or white. It's I'm mentally ill, or I do this and it's abstained. Like it cannot be because I'm spiritual or I'm awakened. But I think in astrology, I think it plays in the way that we are a little bit underdeveloped, or a little bit in the way that maybe we were hurt before, in the way that we did develop mental illness. I think that it could be exacerbated or like made worse depending on the placements we have in what planets, you know. So people say Cancers. I'm gonna use my own sign because I'm the most familiar with it. People say Cancers hold on to the past a lot. We're super nostalgic. We collect karma, not only from this life and the things that have happened to us, but past lives, if you want to go that far, or maybe even just generational, like parents or grandparents, the things that are passed to us through our DNA. So Cancer's already gonna kind of be in that mindset of stuck in the past, where a different sign, you know, an Aquarius is gonna kind of want to leap forward a little bit more. They're like looking to the future and plotting, and they might not always get there sensibly, but they are thinking like forward thinking.
Yeah. Okay. I can't read this.
It's like the fire too, like, huh?
So what's my sign? What's my sign?
That's a great question, Cameron. Now that we have almost fully delved into your chart already.
Yes.
So, Cameron's sign, everybody. Big weighted. Cameron is a Sagittarius. We stand Sagittarius for a particular reason. But I also do love Sagittarius. Like, I feel like that's the fire sign that I get along with the most. I think I've only got one placement too. I think it's one of my generational planets too. So it's not even like that close to me. But I just recognize like how different you guys are from me. I'm like, that's cool. Like, you're cool. Like, Sags are funny too. Like, every Sag I know is like really, really funny. And they don't mean to be either. They're just like, ah, and everyone's like, oh, oh my god, oh my god.
Did you see Jerry? That's Sag. Oh
Right?
my god.
So, Sag Sun, and let's elaborate that a little bit. I want to break down like the planets, the basic ones too. Okay. So, Sun is your core personality. Sun is who you are through and through. Sag is fire. Sag is also, what is Sag? It is a mutable placement. Yeah, I forgot. It's mutable. So, mutable, you're gonna go with the flow a little bit more. You're willing to move forward, but you're also willing to like kind of pause, take a break. Like you go with it. You have a Libra moon, right? Right. You have a Libra moon and a Taurus ascendant. So you have fire, air, earth, which makes you like a little bit brash sometimes, I think.
I don't know what that word means.
Brash? It's like, you kind of come at people. You may not even be meaning to, but you're just like, hey, I'm Cameron, you know, and everyone's like, okay, and you're like, yeah.
I did try to do an impromptu TED Talk today in class. So,
literally, yeah. Or you're always doing the Casey Free dancing, and like, but I love it because it's also just you being like, unapologetically like, what's up, I'm me, and everyone's like, dude, go off. Like, I don't really get it, but like, respectively, go off.
I don't get it out.
That's fine.
It's just music that flows through my body.
Yes, feel it. The vibes, dude. Good vibes only.
Exactly.
You are a Libra moon. Moon is how you deal with your emotions. That's going to be the way that you talk about your feelings, the way that you talk about things that you're passionate about. Libras are kind of big dreamers. They're air signs. They got big dreams. They're a little flashy. They like the luxury a little bit. So dealing with your emotional stuff too, you're like, I deserve the finer things, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Sagittarius are kind of like that too, like a little bit lower key, but when you're Taurus ascendant or rising, same thing. You never hear either, it's the same thing. So rising is your mask. It's like how you present to the world. Like, if I'm first meeting you, it's how you're gonna be like, hey, I'm Cameron. Which I think like later you did start joking, but when I did first meet you, you were just like, hey, I'm Cameron.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like really kind of stoic.
I'm the stage manager.
I'm stage manager. I'm gonna be working here, and it was like, okay, dude, what's your sign? Or like, what are your credentials? And you were like, anyway, like you did something else or something. But the more we got to talking, I was like, dude, you're pretty funny. You're just hiding it. So Taurus and Earth, you're gonna like, when people first meet you, you're like, yeah, I'm kind of a little scary, but like Taurus are secret teddy bears too.
Yeah.
So even when you break down that initial like, hey, you're like, hey, you know, like what's up? So I think you have good placements. You can be a little bit bullheaded sometimes though. Not only you have Taurus, but Sag, you're like,
yeah, that's me.
And your Mars and Venus. Mars is your action. It's how you move forward. Mars is also sometimes related to like sex or just more intense relationships. And then Venus is going to be like love, romance, friendship, like deeper emotional matters than even sometimes moon sign. Those are both Capricorn. So you're a little bit reserved, you kind of want to keep to yourself, you kind of want people to play the right hand before you're going to reveal yours. You know, like you want to see what they're about before you're like, alright, here's what I'm really about. Yeah. You're not just going to lay it all on the table for anybody. And then houses, like, there's just so much more. So you got to consider like what the sign is, what planet it is it mutable, is it cardinal, is it fixed, what kind of energy are you giving off, which is what the modes are going to be, cardinal, fixed, and mutable. And then you also have to consider what house is it in, what facet of my life is this, you know. So first house is going to be yourself.
I'll have like Jeopardy music play over it.
So, as I was saying, this is a continuous sentence, you know, it always is. The first house is going to be your identity, your image, yourself. It's how you present yourself. Your rising, always going to be in your first house.
Okay.
I think. Don't quote me on that. But I'm like, I'm almost positive that is 100% fact.
So is my first house a Taurus?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I'm learning it.
Whoa. Your ascendant, first house, always. Second house is your possessions, your value, kind of like your monetary, like what you have control over. Your third house is communication, how you talk to people, knowledge, the way you learn. Fourth house, family, more parental. It's usually kind of the way that you're shaped previously. And then fifth is also family, but it's more like your children. It would be like that furthering of family, or even like other children in your life. Creativity, even inner child, you know, it's going to be that way that you connect to being like naive a little bit, asking why. Sixth house is health, service, work. So it's going to be kind of more your career field. Also kind of like how you're going to be affected later in life with health. I don't know how much like fully buy into like this could happen to you at this time and you're gonna get liver cancer and blah blah blah. But I do think that it can play in because the signs rule different body parts and organs. So I think that if you're somebody who gets more stressed out and you've got stomach issues and you happen to be a Virgo and you get Crohn's, you're not gonna be surprised because Virgos stress themselves out so much that they're like, I feel sick. And I'm like, yeah, you're like making yourself sick. So it really just depends on the way that it all interacts. It's so complex. This language, their mind. The seventh house is marriage, continuing with family, relationships, unions. So that's going to be the way you interact with the world, the way that you further yourself. So it's like an extension of yourself almost. Eighth house, death, transformation, power, sex. It's kind of how you interact with social institutions or with your own power complexes, or, you know, grappling with mortality, realizing that there is balance. We have a shadow self, we have that further self to our highest self, but there's always going to be that transforming from the ashes, you know, like eye of the storm, the worst is here, but better is coming, essentially. So that's kind of what the eighth house is about. Ninth house, it's your belief, your philosophy, your morals even. It's going to be the way that you kind of connect to things further than yourself. Not even so much learning, but like what you believe is true, like your truths, and like the way that you apply that through either religion or spirituality or even astrology. 10th house, which would also be your midheaven. So 10th house has like a separate name or a second name if you're going to do like ascendant or rising. It's always going to be your 10th house. So if somebody says your midheaven is in this, they're talking about your 10th house. So that could be ruled by a sign, obviously, as well. That's about your social career. That's how you present yourself. So that's how you present yourself too. 11th house is going to be friendship, community, how you collect yourself, who you surround yourself with, the ways you feel happy and connected. I think that ties into the 12th house really well too, which is spirituality. You know, that's that higher connection. So they're all like, it's you, but instead of it being your direct signs and your traits and this is who you are, it's like extensions of yourself, the different facets of your life, as opposed to like your DNA or your, you know, your blueprint or whatever. It's going to be like your plans, like how you get there, essentially. So if you look at your houses interacting with your signs, it can kind of give you a glimpse of like what your future's going to look like.
So why are they fire, water, earth? Like, why that?
I think it's, if you would, the most basic elements that there are. Like, everything's kind of going to be created from one of those. We coexist on this really, really, really weird, unique, awesome planet, you know? So it kind of makes sense that we're all also made up of little pieces of the world. I think it's just a really easy way to classify it too. That's the biggest thing I think to remember, is like, it is up to interpretation. Like, nothing any book is going to tell you is really gonna be the exact meaning, because it's all just other people's interpretations as well, you know? So it's like, learn from that, study, and like get the basics for sure, but go farther. And also listen to yourself. Like, notice how you interact with different types of placements. Do you tend to gravitate towards fire signs because you like that they're loud and they're passionate and they're energetic? Or do you like being with earth signs because they're really stable and kind of grounded and like a little bit more quiet? Or air signs because they're spontaneous and fun?
Well, Clary, I'd like to thank you for being on today.
Of course, thank you, Cameron.
And thank you guys for watching. I'm pointing at a phone. And I'll have to do this again.
This was nice.
Yes.
Thank you.
This was relaxing.
This was just comfortable.
Yeah.
Gotta get some music next time. So me like
Oh, yeah.
quietly playing like a sitar in the background, something weird, you know? I'll sing us out.